All right, to get your files ready for the animatic of your storyboard, your reverse storyboard, you can either work directly from your Photoshop file or from your JPEGs. In this case, I'm using Cassie Capello's old storyboard because she did a pretty fantastic job. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new file, and I'll say create. And this is 1920 by 1080. And then what I'm going to do is just go through and kind of select around one of these areas. And I'm going to do this in order. So I'm going to hit Command C to copy that. And then I'm going to go back to this panel and paste it. Now it's not the right size. I'll have to scale these up later. But I do want to do this in order so that it goes layer 1, layer 2, layer 3 in corresponding with frame 1, frame 2, frame 3. So now I'm just going to slide this over so that they're all the same size. Copy it. Paste it, and I'll go through and do this for a couple frames and then show you what you do with it next. Okay, so I didn't do her whole storyboard, but I do have a bunch of layers here, and I'm going to go ahead and select all those layers, and I make sure that I have my show transform controls on. I'm going to uncheck auto select, and what I'm going to do is just scale these up so that they fill the whole picture plane. So my storyboard panel is not quite 1920 by 1080, but this will give me a pretty good interpolation of it. So now that everything is scaled up to fill the screen, yeah, they're going to be, it's going to get a little grainy, but that's okay. Now that I have this all set up, I'm going to go ahead and save this as a PDF, or sorry, PSD. So I do Command S to save to your computer. I'll call this my last name, reverse storyboard.psd, or actually I'm going to call this for the animatic. And generally speaking, you want to make sure you're saving it inside the folder. So reverse storyboard animatic and your last name, and then create, and I'm going to save this inside there. And now I'm going to go into After Effects. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and imported this Photoshop file into After Effects. I have this saved in the same folder. So it's import composition, retain layer sizes, the same stuff as we usually do. So first I'm going to delete this background layer because there's not actually any graphics on that. And I'm going to start by selecting all these layers and then trimming them. And I'm going to trim them pretty short, so I'll zoom in. Yeah, so they're about 4 frames long. Now, there's ways of automatically staggering these layers, but I'm actually not going to show you how to do that because what happens is students will stagger them and call it done, and then the timing is actually not quite right. So what you want to do is basically grab all these layers, and here's the hard part. I need to zoom in, but not quite that much. And actually, I'm going to change my work area. So I'll go to my composition settings. I'll change this to let's do 12 seconds. That's actually way longer than I think I need, but that's okay. And I'm just going to drag all these guys down. And then I'm going to start with this first layer and start him at the beginning. And I'll stretch this out. And I need to think about, I'll go back to that animation, and I'll think about, how long is it blank before that ball comes up. So I'll basically have that up for a second. There we go. It's about how long. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to stagger one right after the other. So you want to make sure that they're overlapping a little bit, but how fast or slow they play will kind of depend on how tight your storyboard is. So as this guy is coming up, let's see, here we go. And then it's turning into that circle. That circle there is going to last a little bit longer, and it sort of falls a little bit slower before it gets to the next one. And then I'll move these guys down. And you can scrub through to make sure that the timing looks right. That's pretty close. And by the time you're done with the reverse storyboard, you'll know that animation so well, you'll kind of know sort of how long it needs to take. Now, one thing that you can play around with too is you can animate little sections of this. So for instance, the jump from here to there is a little bit abrupt. So what I can do is I can actually go to T and pull down the opacity so I can kind of see both at once. And then I'm going to go to S for scale. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and scale him down a little bit. Now I will have a little bit of a border there, so that's going to be kind of weird, but I can do that. And then I'll have him very quickly go to 100%. And then I'll turn that scale, or that opacity, back up to 100 so I can see how this looks. Okay, not sure it's worth it. I can also drag out that empty blank layer so that I don't have the white black background. It's okay. I don't know if I really need that scaling. And then I just keep going. So the important thing is that you want to keep watching this to sort of think about how long different parts happen. So that ball, as it comes up, it really eases into that position and then gradually comes back down. And then that burst happens really quickly. So in this case, I think I really need to slow that down. Yep, I'm going to slow that down a whole lot. So it's coming up. Maybe I could just go ahead and hold them for one frame. You know, it's true frame by frame animation. So your storyboard doesn't need to be quite this tight. But if it is, it makes your process as an animator so much easier because you've kind of done all the hard work already. Let's see, there we go. This is where it starts to slow down a little bit. All right, let's try that now. There you go. That actually looks about right to the animation. So, Cassie did a super detailed animatic reverse storyboard, which took her a lot more time, but then she gets a fantastic result. So that's basically how you're going to create your reverse animatic. Once you're done, you change your work area to be however long that animation is, and then you export it as an MP4 and upload that to Canvas.